So in terms of your team as well, do you have a lot of women in your team?
Yes, we do. I think we're very, very fortunate in the way that we've always hired. So in our job ads, we've always steered clear of words like rock star, very masculine words. We've always been very much along the lines of put the actual requirements in there, not the things that would be nice to have. What are the actual requirements for the job? And one thing that we do, I think, very well as a business is we invest in our people. So we don't need them to come in having had years of experience at a management level. We'd rather they started small, they really understand the nitty-gritty pieces, then they tell us where they want to go. So maybe we'll have someone who started off as a box packer, right, within the pharmacy fulfillment chain. They're like, hey, you know what? I really want to be a dispenser. You bring them into dispensary, they do their training, they get a qualification out of that. After a while, like, you know what? I really want to be in charge of managing the team. So you then give them opportunities to help with rotas and holidays and, you know, the stock of the pharmacy. So that's really, it's a joy to watch people grow.
Wow. And how many people are in your team, Thuria, now?
40 in total with our
Amazing.
UK base and our international base. So that's quite a challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine. And recruitment is a whole topic in itself, but I'm sure if people have questions about that, they can ask you.
Of course, yes, absolutely. I don't think we are immune to it, despite everything that I would like to tell myself.
So I know you also have dyslexia, right?
Yes.
And it might have been a challenge for you to keep like having this and still like, you know, like developing your company. How did it affect you? Because I might, in our audience today, have people with maybe some other disabilities. Like, how did you evolve with that?
I think it's a big part of who I am, and I've come to accept it a lot more over time. So I got diagnosed with dyslexia actually in my second or third year of medical school. I always knew I was bad at spelling, but I didn't really realize how much impacted my ability to read and to pay attention to things. So at that point, I was then introduced to software that reads out content for you and actually text-to-speech. So when you're typing, you don't have to sit there and type or handwrite. It kind of just mostly gets accurately for you. I think there was this big fear at the beginning that made me really doubt myself as, in quotation marks, CEO, because obviously in the early days you're drowning in imposter syndrome, where I would check emails like 6 times.
Wow.
Or I'd have like a delay on my email, so when I send it out,
Just to make sure.
Yeah, and I'd still get things wrong. And then people would respond like, by the way, you spelled this wrong. And I'd be like, why?
By the time do you say people that you have dyslexia?
And now I do. Now I actually have it in my email signature, and there are certain documents that I send off, and I'd be like, I don't care. Okay. Like, if you can understand what I'm talking about, it really doesn't make a difference. I have had people on screen share who show me like essay documents, and they're like, oh yeah, could you just read this paragraph? I'm like, no, I'm not going to sit there and like I had to hold a ruler out and read line by line on my laptop. So do you mind sending it over and I'll put it through the text-to-speech software. We've made lots of mistakes. I think everyone who starts with a business knows you do every single job, whether that's, you know, customer service or in my case, I was doing some of the graphics design. I misspelled pharmacy on 5,000 flyers. We're an online pharmacy.
That's a big mistake.
Yeah, it is. So we had 5,000 flyers. We received them, and Oscar kind of going through it was like, you've misspelled pharmacy. We're an online pharmacy.
Wow.
How have you made this mistake? And at the time, we decided to actually send out the misspelled flyers to everyone. I think the cost of replacing all of them wouldn't have been that much. It was probably about 100, 120 pounds. But for us, the idea of throwing away 5,000 flyers.
That's a big waste, right?
Would have been really wasteful.
Yeah.
So these flyers went out with customers' orders, and what we did was we just sent them a spiel in their email, being like, by the way, we know we've misspelt it. This is the reason why our CEO has dyslexia. She was doing it. We couldn't bring ourselves to cause this waste. So we're just going to giggle about it. We put a blog post out about it, and I had so much positive engagement from our community that we didn't really have beforehand, because it was very much like here's your medication, if you need anything else, we're here for you.
So you try to connect as well through that as well.
Yeah, so we weren't expecting that to be an outcome, but it really improved our relationship with a lot of our patients.
Wow. So, final questions for you, Thuria. What is your vision? Because I know off camera we've been talking about IPO and So, tell us a bit more about what's your vision for e-pharmacy in a couple of years, and if you have as well any advice for entrepreneurs who are looking at this video right now.
So I do want to IPO the business. I think it's really important to have more women leading public companies.
Exactly.
And I delusionally think I can get there.
You can.
Absolutely. There's an internal faith, and I 100% believe that if you think about it long enough and you get the whole team to believe it with you open yourself up to the opportunities for that. In terms of the actual product itself, we would like to be everywhere. So our vision for the business is to essentially become PayPal but for healthcare, or Stripe for healthcare, where we will sit on every website, every company will sit there and be able to impact the kind of towards the sustainable development goals, the UN sustainable development goals of health and equality of access. And we can control the cost of private healthcare. So if everyone is essentially using our service, you can't then have someone else come along and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to charge you £200 for this item because I offer this beautiful branded service. But like, no, it's equality, it's accessibility. Exactly. It's incredibly important to make sure that the business is led by clinicians with that vision. Yeah.
Wow. And for the future entrepreneurs who are looking at you today, is there any specific advice you want to share?
I would say everything is Googleable. And there is a very good tip that I learned in the early days that just saves you so much time. So when you are going on Google and you're searching for a document, a manual, a guide, type in what you want, then type the words file type, : and then either PPT, like PowerPoint, or PDF.
Yeah,
PDF.
Definitely. I do that as well to find directly.
Exactly. So when we were building our employee handbooks before we hired an external HR person, we just went online and we found other companies' HR handbooks, and we took their stuff, made it nicer, obviously, and didn't break any liability, copyright things. But yeah, it made a huge difference for finding resources that we could then use with our team, whether that's customer service training guides, standard operating procedures for project management, those sort of things. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, there's so many things we can still talk with you, Thuria. I mean, there are obviously so many, and you're really inspiring. I do think more women should be ambitious as well, because sometimes, as you said, we tend to be more imposter syndrome, or why me,
Absolutely.
Last thing I want to mention, because we talked a bit more about Hatch, today we're here at Hatch, and it's a program that also help entrepreneurs, and especially also women, underrepresented communities. In which way Hatch also helped you in developing your business?
So I think a really important part of kind of accepting when you're starting a business, realizing you actually don't know most of running a business. Hatch ran so many different sessions that touched on different elements of running the business, whether that was finance, understanding balance sheets and cash flow forecasts, marketing. We had this brilliant external company come in and talk to us about marketing.
Wow.
And then I reached out to them afterwards. Key point there, just reach out to all the different individuals afterwards.
Exactly.
Build your network. They're always willing to have another kind of free 20, 30-minute conversations with you. And that really gave me a lot of the fundamentals that I was then able to go to Google and be like, right, so I didn't know anything about this concept. Now I know enough about it to be able to search. Because actually there's this box at the very early beginning where, in that kind of knowledge matrix, where you don't know what you don't know. So Hatch opened that Pandora's box.
Thank you so much for your time, for your great advices. I'm sure this episode will help lots of entrepreneurs. I'm sure also you might have some time maybe to give some advices, feedback to entrepreneurs who have questions. How do they reach out to you?
I'm a very big believer of paying it forward, because I definitely benefit from a lot of people's time over the last few years. So if you want to reach out to me, if you just go to LinkedIn, search for Thuria Wenbar, and just say you heard me on Mel's talk, and I will immediately respond and we can set up a call.
Great. And how do people do if they want to follow you on socials or just have access to your website?
So our website domain address is e-pharmacy.net, and our socials are ePharmacyCares. We'd love to have a follow.
Great. And is there anything you're looking on your side? Maybe someone can help you.
That's a really good question. I think from where we're at the moment, we'd love to work with more companies. So if you have a company that addresses a specific consumer base and you think there's the opportunity for you to work with us to solve the sustainable development goals of accessibility and improving healthcare in general, please reach out. I'd love to work with you.
Amazing. Thank you again, Thuria, and I hope this episode will really help you. We covered a lot of topics, so feel free to reach out to Thuria for any advices, and I will see you soon on another episode of Mel's Talk.
Thank you.